Hey guys, and welcome to another video. We're currently in the middle of game week 13, but I'm already looking ahead to game week 14, which comes on Tuesday actually, so it's a super quick deadline. I've already shortlisted 5 or 6 players that I think that I'm going to want personally, and you might want. So 5 or 6 are the best options to buy, not just for game week 14, but also the run ahead. So let's jump into it. So the first player I'm going to mention is Bruno Fernandes. Now, he may appear super obvious to many, but I think if you just look at his ownerships, around 16%, it's not that high. So outside of like the Twitter bubble that I'm in, not a lot of people actually own Bruno Fernandes. I mean, maybe they do, among the top players in the game, but I think obviously, 2 goals, 3 assists is decent. His XGI is pretty decent. His DEFCON rate around 10 average per 90 is also very solid as well. So it means he can pick up points from DEFCON even when he's not returning. But also his predicted points is good as well on Fantasy Football Scout. They have him second best among all midfielders over the period ahead. And you're going to want Manchester United attacking coverage. With Brian Mbeumo going to AFCON, just take a look at those fixtures. West Ham, he plays Wolves twice. I think obviously, Aston Villa, Bournemouth, and even Newcastle at home aren't terrible fixtures either, as shown with the colour coded there. But I again, a lot of people may be watching this thinking this is an obvious choice, but again, a lot of people don't actually own him. So Bruno Fernandes is definitely someone I'm going to be looking to replace Mbeumo with personally over the coming weeks. Now, my next option, Phil Foden, is someone that a lot of people are going to be looking at, especially after the recent round. He scored a brace for Manchester City recently and obviously played until towards the end of the game. So, showing both output and minutes at the moment, something midfielders have generally lacked this season. So, for me, Phil Foden is definitely top of, a midfielder top of my list. With ownership as well at 5.3% is basically nothing at all. So, an unreal differential over the coming weeks. And again, yes, he was quite slow in terms of output at the start of the season, and we may see that start picking up now. A little bit of confidence maybe from the brace recently, but I think you just have to be looking at Manchester City coverage outside of Haaland. I mean, you look at those fixtures below, and I think Manchester City have some of the best fixtures in the next 6 game weeks compared to any other team. Fulham away, Sunderland, Crystal Palace might be tough, but West Ham, Forest, and Sunderland, they are, definitely opportunities that I think Manchester City attackers can get a lot of goals in. Now, obviously, Haaland is not. We're not really benefiting from Haaland's goals at the moment because we captain him every single week. But with Foden, he is a differential. He's someone that we can bring in and hopefully gain from the Manchester City goals. And he's obviously predicted to do well over the course of the next few weeks as well. So for me, Phil Foden definitely up there as someone that I want to be looking at. Now, thanks to Marcos Senesi, we are now down a defender, or a lot of us are. So it's a good opportunity to jump on another defender, and I think Nico O'Reilly could be that defender that we potentially look at. Now, again, just going back, Manchester City, great schedule ahead from an attacking perspective, but I also think they could keep clean sheets. They have shown they can keep clean sheets all season. This isn't the City of old where they were kind of conceding every single match. They have kept clean sheets as of late. So I'm really backing him. Nico O'Reilly is also super attacking. I mean, you look already, a goal, 3 assists. His non-penalty XGI is also close to 3, which is really good. His defensive contributions are only at 7, but you don't really need that from Nico O'Reilly, especially with how attacking he is. He's predicted to do well as well over the course of the next 6 weeks, around 24 points via Fantasy Football Scout. But, he got an assist in his last match. He scored against Bournemouth. I think he got an assist against Liverpool as well. So showing quite a lot of attacking threat recently. It's just minutes, isn't it? Will he start every single match? He's had 2 or 3 kind of moments where he's featured for Pep Guardiola this season. He's not necessarily started, but I think you could take the risk with it with Nico O'Reilly. I think there are obviously other options if you don't want to go there, but I just think he's a really good way into both the defence and the attack of Manchester City for the period ahead. Now, we revisit an option that was quite popular at the start of the season in Elliot Anderson and Nottingham Forest. I think Nottingham Forest were terrible at the start of the campaign, and that was obviously, evident in every single result. But They are improving now under Sean Dyche. Things are looking good. I think they're unbeaten in their previous 5 at the time of recording this video. So they are getting better in terms of form. And it's not just form. Fixtures look pretty good as well. Wolves, Everton, Tottenham, Fulham, Manchester City and Everton. So I do think there's a good stretch of fixtures there to attack from a Nottingham Forest investor perspective, whether that be defence or attack. Now, we are missing a lot of kind of good, cheap enablers in the game. Obviously, you've got Minty. We used to have Reinders. Anderson was popular again, as mentioned at the start of the season. But now we have Anderson back. It feels like he's back. Obviously he's taking corner. He was always here, just not a good option. Forest just didn't have the form. But now he could be potentially on pens. He's already taken one. He's on set pieces. He's got decent statistics. He's predicted to get around 21, 22 points over the course of the next 6 weeks as well. But you have to remember here, price is super important because, again, Sarr is going and Bumo is going. Enzo Fernandez might become a non-option soon as well. So going cheaper may, kind of getting a bit of budget out of players is going to be difficult. And I think downgrading to Anderson could be a really, really good play for the weeks ahead. Now, I'm going to keep bringing Bukayo Saka up. He's only 18% owned. Now, I know a lot of people own him. I am one of the few people who don't own him. Unfortunately, I own Gokaresh still. I'm not too sure how that's happened. But, Bukayo Saka, now, we're at a period where kind of there's a lot of midfielders going off to AFCON. You've got the likes of NDI. You've got the likes of Sarr. You've got the likes of Mbumo. So we are losing a lot of midfield depth in FPL at the moment, which makes going for the more expensive midfielders, the more kind of consistent players in terms of like minutes and output, probably a more clever move. So I mean, again, Arsenal are one of several teams actually who have really good fixtures over the next 6 weeks. I mean, take a look at the bottom. Brentford at home next. That score could be pretty much anything. Albeit, Brentford have been reasonably okay defensively this season statistically. They also have Villa, Wolves, Everton, Brighton, and Villa again at home. But Saka has done well in terms of XGI. He's also predicted to get more points than any other midfielder in the next 6 weeks, according to Fantasy Football Scout. So I just think, now is the time to get on Saka. If you can get there in 1 or 2 moves, then great. Even if you have to take a -4 to bring him in, I think he could be crucial for the period ahead. Not just kind of as an asset, individual asset, but for captaincy too as well, right? If Haaland continues this kind of slow spell that he's in, then Saka becomes a genuinely good captaincy option for the rounds ahead. So, again, super obvious with Saka, but a very, very good long-term solid asset for minutes and output, in my opinion. Now, Malik Tau is another player I'm looking at. I know it's not because he just scored a brace, or maybe it is, but his underlying data backed him as well. He had more attempts on goal than any of his defender teammates. He's arguably more nailed than any of them as well in terms of minutes. He's starting every match. He's a major threat in the box. He's around 0.5% owned, so also a major differential. But 4.9 million is also a very good price, I think, as well. Those coming away from, the likes of Senesi, or maybe those who haven't sold Gabriel just yet, haven't made a switch over and are considering the likes of Nico O'Reilly or, Malik Thiaw. I think the latter, this guy, could be better in terms of minutes long term. Yes, O'Reilly is going to play most of the games, but I think Thiaw is probably going to play every single match. The fixtures are good. Tottenham at home is not a bad fixture. He also has, gained a double bill against Burnley, the worst side in the league for expected goals. So I think he could keep clean sheets, in the coming weeks. But also that attacking threat, I think, he's constantly in the box trying to get his head on stuff. I know a lot of people had Dan Burn originally. Burn scored in the Champions League, but Thiaw has looked more dangerous than Burn. And that obviously it kind of ended with a brace in the most recent match. So I'm not saying that Thiaw is going to score a brace again. He could, but I think he's shown prior to that brace that he can be an attacking threat. So for me, he is definitely a standout option for those looking to replace Senesi. And I think one of the best defensive options in the game for the period ahead. So guys, if you are enjoying these type of videos, please remember to both like and subscribe. Again, I am aiming for 1k subs by the end of the season. I'm really hoping to make it, and I need your guys' support to do that. So yeah, get your comments in. I'll reply to everyone I can, and also hit that subscribe button. I'll see you guys again soon.